Hello and welcome to Arizona Trails to Philippine Tales. Alright, so I wanted to do another video, and this is concerning the actual visas. Now usually most single people, that if you're going over to the Philippines, basically will just get the normal tourist visa, which is about 30 days. And if you like the Philippines, then of course you can stay longer by extending that tourist visa. So basically, one of the things too, though, that if you wanted to spend long term in the Philippines, then we're looking at perhaps a retirement visa, and those retirement visas are called the SRRV retirement visa, and usually you have to be 50 or older in order to get the retirement visa. Now, some of those requirements, basically when you go online and the SRRV retirement visa, it's actually not done through immigration. It's done through what's called the Philippine Retirement Authority, or the PRA. And basically the PRA says that you have to put a certain dollar amount in a Philippine bank, and that is refundable if you ever do leave the Philippines. And then also I think the requirements is I believe it's $20,000 in a bank, and again, like I said, you get that back if you do decide to leave the Philippines, and that's if you are not receiving any type of pension. If you are receiving a pension, then I believe the dollar amount is $10,000. And if you are a military veteran that is retired, I believe that you only need to have $1,000 in the bank. And I believe that there is also a yearly charge. Veterans, I know the yearly charge, I believe, is $10, and that's just to get an update to the PRA card that says that you are using a retirement visa, and that's the SRRV. Now, I am 50 years and older, and I tried to apply to the SRRV, and I actually tried to apply it after I didn't receive the 13A visa, which is the spousal visa. Now, let me go over the reasons why. First, I'll come back to the spousal visa, but I sort of want to touch on why I didn't get the SRRV visa. Now, I am retired. Matter of fact, I made it a goal, like I said before in my previous video, to try and retire before the age of 50. So I wanted to make sure that I was done working and able to be able to support myself and go to a foreign country and live. However, the reason why I was denied a retirement visa is because the Philippine Retirement Authority does not consider my funds, which was actually through a brokerage account, as a suitable income, or it's not something that you would get all the time, like if you got your Social Security all the time. So I'm thinking the minimum requirement, I believe, was you have to make at least $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, and it had to be some type of pension plan that you were receiving in order for that to count. Well, I tried giving like my monthly statements, how much money I was bringing in, and it was way above the requirement for a monthly income, but because it was done through a brokerage account and they couldn't, and it varied in the amounts every month, they said, sorry sir, you cannot use your brokerage account as a means of a pension. So I'm like, okay. So SRRV was a no-go. Now, I do recommend that SRRV, you would apply for that when you are in the Philippines. However, you can get prepared for the SRV before going, which is usually a medical examination. And you can go on the PRA website to see the requirements for that, which basically says that you need a medical examination, a chest x-ray, all your blood work done, and it has to be done within 6 months of the time of application. And that's usually just standard. So any document that you supply the Philippines with has to be within 6 months of the application. And so it's usually a good idea to get, like, a police report is one of the things too, which is a requirement, and your lab work and everything else like that. So again, what we got there is also a once you get the medical done, once you get the police report done, which is a background check, then you can usually have the requirements plus filling out the application. There's some fees that also have to be done. So again, I recommend going to the PRA website upon arrival in the Philippines, seeing what I would check the website before leaving to the Philippines, but once you get to the Philippines, then go to the PRA office and actually go through them for the actual filling out the paperwork. Now, let's go to the 13A visa. Now, I knew that I wanted a 13A visa because I was married to a Filipina. So the 13A visa, of course, is the spousal visa. So my wife and I made plans to actually get a 13A visa for me. Now, the first thing that we did was, when we got married, we wanted to do what the Philippines suggest, which is to register the marriage with the Philippine embassy. And so that way I would have a Philippine marriage certificate. So that was done. And then, of course, being like the typical expat or a person that's wanting to go to the Philippines, we had to figure out, would it be better to fill out the 13A visa requirements in the Philippines, or would it be better to do it in the United States? The answer is definitely try and complete your 13A visa while in the United States. And that includes your medical, your police background, and make sure that you do have your marriage certificate, which is, again, has to be registered within the Philippines. So you need to get a copy of that. That's called PSA, which is the Philippine Statistic Authority. So you have to have a valid marriage certificate on file. So I got all that information, got my medical done, and again, like I said, timing is key, because your documents have to remain valid for up to 6 months of the date that you apply. Now, once you are approved for that, basically what we're looking at is, so once you're approved, you're looking at sending it off to the Philippine Embassy in the United States, and they review it, and if you pass the criteria and you provided all the necessary documentation, then they'll give it back to you, they'll stamp your passport, you get the 13A visa. Now, from what I've heard in the Philippines, somebody said that you still have to turn in your medical when you arrive in the Philippines. So, to be on the safe side, not only do you, once you get your 13A visa, you have to ensure that your documentation is still good once you arrive, so that way you can provide any medical information to the proper authority. That would then grant you a green card, or your ID card, which is issued by immigration. So, excuse me. So, but the thing of it is, what makes it better in the United States versus the Philippines is that in the Philippines, when you apply, they give you a temporary 13A visa. And when you get the temporary 13A visa, that takes about a year that you have to hold it. And then the next year, then you have to sort of provide all your paperwork again, which means that you would have to get another medical examination because it's past your 6 months. Then you would have to provide all the documentation again. And then once you did that, then they'll finally stamp your visa or your passport with the 13A visa. Now, the 13A visa is good. I mean, it's good for a lifetime, or at least until your spouse passes, or you pass, or there's no such thing as a divorce in the Philippines. But if it ever was annulled, then of course you would lose the spousal visa, which case you can always fall back again on the SRRV visa. That's one thing that I thought about when I was denied my 13A visa, was to get the SRRV visa, because I just pay, you know, just keep a little bit of money in the bank, and that's the price that you pay to play, and then you go ahead and can go ahead and stay in the Philippines. But what caused my denial of my 13A visa? Well, so I turned everything into the embassy. I thought, all right, good, I've got everything, I'm dialed in. Especially being in the military, I'm very meticulous on what documentation is needed to make sure I checked all the boxes. Military people were great check boxers. So I turned everything in, but I get a call from, you guessed it, the Philippine embassy saying, sorry sir, we have to stop your application process. So I said, okay, what was the reason for it, or can I correct it? And they said, well, basically, sir, your name on your passport does not match the name on your marriage certificate. Now, I was married in 2001, and my wife became a U.S. citizen in 2007, and then in 2017, I changed my surname, and then changed my wife's surname, and changed our family's surname. And that was just because my father was adopted, and I wanted to try and get back to the original surname. So I'm now the new surname. My marriage certificate is my old surname. And then sure enough, once I get my name change, they went ahead and said, still sir, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to apply to the Philippines for a change of name. And that's for the marriage certificate. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense, because at the time of my marriage, I was one particular surname, and 16 years later, I changed my surname and my family surname. And then because of that, they also wanted additional documentation, like they would have to know when my wife became a U.S. citizen, what name it was under. Was it under the original marriage surname? Was it under the name that was changed to? And I was like, well, all you have to do is look at the dates. But of course, they needed that information. And that information is also in my wife's dual citizenship paperwork. So she has her maiden name, the first name that she was married under, which is still me, and then the change of the surname, which is still me. But they said, sorry sir, we cannot process that. So I said, well, if I was to do a change of name in the Philippines, how long would that take? Oh sir, that would take probably more than a year. So yeah, it does take a long time to process. I mean, I could again apply once I got to the Philippines, but I think what I'm going to do, like I said in the other video, is I'm just going to go ahead, do the other item, which is the tourist visa, which is sort of funny because, like I said, when I researched these visas, both the spousal visa and the retirement visa, I said, why don't other expats have these visas? Why are they paying all these fees to be a tourist and then pay for the extension, and then at the end of their 3-year mark they're going to go ahead and leave the country of the Philippines only to fly back and start over? Well, now I know. Denied for the 13A, denied for the SRV, hence I'm going to be that long-term expat with a tourist visa. Alright, well, there you go. Again, something to think about as you're making your journey to find out if you want to go to the Philippines or not long-term, and if so, what type of visa you might need to get. And I wish you best of luck. Thank you again for tuning into the Arizona Trails to Philippine Tales, and talk to you later.